Welcome back to the Backcountry PA podcast. I believe this will be episode 204.
Hopefully you're right.
If it's not right, then, well, you just have to look at the title, look at the art, and see which number it is.
Yep.
But this one we had Weston Homa on, a returning guest. I believe, if I looked at it correct, he was like 146 when he was on last. So last April he was on. Today's date is June 18th when we recorded the episode with Weston. We talked about his 2023-2024 Western hunt that he did, where he was able to get this beautiful mule deer down with that sick freaking backdrop right there.
I'd say.
Yeah, dude. We go into detail pretty much of like how he scouted for it, his trip out there, his, the whole hunt. We go through the whole thing, what he learned.
The preparation that it takes to be able to go out west and the mental mindset of everything.
Yeah, and then we get into the physical side of things. Ethan and I lift weights a little bit while he talks and answers the questions.
Mm-hmm.
His ultra marathon, he ran 70 miles, which is about a quarter tank of gas.
Yep.
In my truck.
And he used a whole tank.
Yeah, we talk about the mindset he was going through with that. We talk about lifting preparation for that as well. If you're interested in running and want to do that, he started running and started getting to working out because he wanted to hunt out west and he wanted to be fully prepared for it. He wanted his body to be prepared for the elevation, the work he had to do to get the mule deer out. By himself, he got it by himself and all that kind of stuff, like just the whole process really. And we talk about the mental side of things for it.
Yeah, it's all mental.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, it's the mindset.
Yep.
Mindset.
100%.
Yeah. And then we talk about a little bit about his 24-25 season plans, his entrance salt, obviously, for WWE, because he's going to be on WWE. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. He's not going to be on WWE. But just a really great conversation with Weston. Really hope you guys learn something from it and maybe gets you outside. He's not pushing for you guys to do 7 days a week workout. He's not pushing for that. He's not saying everyone has to run an ultra marathon to go out west. Just do what you can do. Mm-hmm. Wake up 3 days a week, 2 days a week. Get your mind right. Get out there, exercise, move your body, and just get moving. That's all you got to do.
Really.
Be present. Be in the moment. Set a goal for yourself and stick to that goal. This time of year, I see in June, it's like, people do these 90-day challenges. It's like, yeah, you have those 90-day challenges, but what about the rest of the year? So you have 3 months where you're doing a 90-day challenge, but yet, what about the rest of the year? You're just going to slack and just wait till that 90 days? Like, no, do a 365 goal. 365 days of some kind of physical movement. Like, you don't have to do a hardcore workout every day. Like, maybe just, move things. Move furniture around your house to, lift things up, put them down. Go to Planet Fitness.
I lift things up and put them down.
Yeah. Do what you can do.
Yep.
Families, jobs, other curricular activities. Like, they have that kind of stuff, but just make time for it. We talk about that stuff, and it's a great mindset to have. It really is going to help a lot of people, I think, with, working out and just staying physically fit, being better prepared for even the eastern hunts in big woods or ag fields or whatever you hunt.
Right.
It doesn't matter your age, just move your body.
Move it or lose it.
Move it or lose it. You're going to lose your body at one point.
Yeah.
Who knows when. But remember to check out the partners in the description for any discount codes. We have the max discount code we have is 25% from Bow Creek. So go check that out. But want to remind everyone, keep hunting.
Keep fishing.
Enjoy the freaking process. And if you like what you hear, give us a rating and review on Apple or Spotify. And remember to like and subscribe on YouTube. Thanks, guys. You just bought a house, so we're going to start the podcast off by talking about the house right now because,
okay,
dude, I'm at war right now.
Oh.
I'm at war with fucking voles.
Oh.
I have voles everywhere. They're tracks, and Weston, I hope you don't ever have to deal with voles. These
voles?
Voles. They're like little mice, like this big, but they're meadow
okay.
voles. And they dig tracks through your yard. Just as I'm getting the yard nice, they start digging holes and making tracks. So I mean, dude, I am at war right now.
Yeah.
Like I bought stuff to put down, did that, and now they're making their way to the backyard. Like we were sitting on the porch this morning, and one came into the backyard. My wife goes, "There's a vole," and my dog went running over there after it. It got out of the yard, and then I saw one on the other side of the yard, and I was like, "This is not okay." So I bought like the little green things, like poison them pretty much. I put one in every single hole that I found.
Take them out. Take them all out.
Like, oh man, because they were in
Good
one.
luck, dude. They say the best hunters are the really good trappers. So
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
we'll
Well,
see
I
what
need
happens.
to get.
Now you're in it.
I need to get some mouse traps.
Yeah.
Do you have any more of them?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I can give you some.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
This is his intro to trapping.
Yep.
Next thing you know, it's going to be fox, raccoons.
Yep.
He's going to do it all now.
Cats.
Started with
There you go.
voles. Cats. Damn cats. Oh, live on a farm. Live on a farm. Then cats. They're everywhere.
So Weston, how's your house going?
So it's good. So I went pretty hard there, like in the winter and in the spring, because I knew this time of year. And then really for me, I like to run these ultra marathons and marathons in the spring too. So that's like that time. This summer, I like to backpack and get ready for the fall. And like, I'm very like, I like to focus on what I need to focus on at the time. So I closed on this house end of last year. And then just kind of went hard here renovating it from like January to March and moved in right before my first race. So I still had like some little stuff to do, like painting, like the living room, like I'm putzing around, but that's so like minor. Like I ended up doing a pretty big like remodel, and it was a fun, well, sometimes not so fun, but just a huge learning experience. But just goes to show something else, that it's like if you just kind of like put your mind to it and just keep, every time you screw up, but just realize it's just a learning experience and you just keep going. Like I'm just really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, it was. I remember watching like every day was like you were at Lowe's for something else or Home Depot, and then you were doing something else, like you were like DIY, water pipes or like hot water heater.
And sometimes I can't help but operate with like a chip on my shoulder sometimes. And like I started running these races, and sometimes people will just be like, "Oh, wait till you have a family, or wait till you buy a house. Like you're not gonna have time for all that." And I can't help but sometimes my energy just like, "Oh yeah, like I'll show you." So I literally every day for me was like lift, work, house, and then I'd go run at like 8:00 at night or whatever, or I'd run and then just work at the house till like 11 or 12 at night. And but got it done. And then I went and ran the ultra marathon and got 8th place. It was a 55K down in North Carolina out of like 150 some people, I don't know. And it was awesome. So it's like I did it. Sometimes that like negative fuel, still fuel. Like,
Yeah.
So
Dude, that's awesome. So I think one, Weston, welcome to the podcast again. You were on. I double checked, and it was April of last year you were on, and we talked. Originally, we had you on to talk about like bear hunting or like public land hunting, and it turned into complete like just talking about out west hunting. Yeah, and it was just like
it was turkeys. We were going to talk about turkeys, and I even said like I've killed some birds or whatever, but I wouldn't say I'm a turkey guy. Like this Western stuff's my thing. Gosh, that's crazy. That was a year ago.
Yeah. It feels like, I'm not gonna lie, it feels like a lot longer than that.
It does.
Just because probably the amount of stuff we have always jam packed into the amount of like time that we have out in the woods or spending with family, or like with you buying a house, running the ultra marathons, running marathons in general, and then it's like, man, like packing everything
hunting
in.
season in general.
It's crazy.
That's good. That means we're busy. That's good.
Sometimes it's nice to be busy, and sometimes it's like, man, I just want to slow down a little bit. But then I find myself like just sitting there doing nothing.
Yep.
And I'm like, I need to do something.
I need more. I need more on my plate. Give me something.
Yeah. It's like when I have every episode edited of the podcast, like I need to record something. I need to do something now. It's like to take my time and like do it because it's at nighttime and I'm like I'm bored. I have nothing to edit. Like I just want to watch TV or something like that. But I don't know. Maybe I could do something more productive, like maybe work out or
Yeah, would be a good idea. That's some.
Call me fat.
I mean, you said you want to lose weight. That's on you. That's on
You're
you.
Right. You're right. It's baby weight. It's baby weight.
See, you're allowed. You're allowed to have baby weight. How
No,
long?
from when I was a baby.
Yeah.
I still have baby weight.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, Weston, welcome back to the podcast. Do you want to give us like the listeners a quick like synopsis of like who you are, what you're about, all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, so I'm from southwestern PA, just south of Pittsburgh. Really just passionate about a lot of things outdoors. I've really, over the past like 4 or 5 years, maybe about 4 years, developed this huge passion for hunting out west. It's something I've done every year since. I still like to chase whitetails. I grew up hunting on private. The last few years have been all mobile hunting on public. I really do enjoy that too. Really also, and then I also, when I'm not doing that, I'm like backpacking in the summer, and I've really turned on to running these ultra marathons and marathons the last really only just 2 years. And I've done a good handful now. I just came off a 70-mile ultra marathon last week, which went pretty well, but that was a crazy, awesome experience all in one. But I spent a lot of time doing that, and that all started with I just started getting in shape for out west. Like I was not a runner. I still don't believe I'm like a natural runner.
Mm-hmm.
Just started running with like all I could do was really like a couple miles. This little 3-mile loop near where I used to live was like a death sentence, I thought. But that year, that would have been like in 2019, I was like, well, I got to get in shape for going out west. And then when COVID hit, I kind of just kept running with everything and just kind of kept up with it, kept pushing it, falling in love with it. And yeah, I ran 2 ultras this spring, a 55K. I ran the Pittsburgh Marathon, ended up qualifying for Boston. And then, yeah, like I said, I just did a 70-miler ultra, which has been my longest. And that was a pretty wild experience. But yeah, I guess that's kind of me. That's what I like to do. But I would say with all that, hunting is definitely number one for sure.
Yeah, my knees hurt just listening to you talk. I know. Like, no.
Yeah, isn't I first I want to pretty much for all the listeners and for us, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about your Western hunt first.
Yeah,
from 23, 24 season. Talk about that. Then we'll get into your fitness stuff, and then we'll get into like goals for this season, maybe how you're preparing for next season, all that kind of good shit. But like to have a mindset of I'm going to do this because it's going to help me with another goal, but that now it's like now you're like full blown like addicted to it, like running, lifting, all that kind of stuff. Like because I think back and when we had you on last year, you weren't doing, from my knowledge, you weren't doing all this stuff. Like, or maybe you just weren't posting it as much. But like now, dude, like you're like, I see you run. Like I live vicariously through you, of like all this running and lifting. Like I try and like stay up to date with lifting, but it's like, it's hard. It is, and it's probably just a mindset thing. Like I just got to do it. Because maybe you can talk about this a little more, and I think, but it takes a while for you to get like into a routine of working out, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, that's something I just probably have to do, honestly. But
yeah.
So let's talk about your 23-24 season. Then we'll get to the fitness stuff.
Okay, cool.
I was going to bring dumbbells out here for that session, and like we were going to, Ethan and I, every time we asked you a question, we were going to do curls. Or like.
Okay. Okay.
But I did not. Actually, I do have little 4-pounders out there that Ethan, go grab them.
Where are they?
Right out there to the left.
Oh gosh.
Yep. We're gonna do little 4-pound curls and maybe little shoulder presses too.
4 pounds?
Yep,
Okay.
4 pounds, man. That's what we do here. You know.
Okay. We'll go for high reps.
Yeah. High reps, low weight. That's what I like. No, but like, so the Western hunt last year, you got one down.
Yep.
You got the mule deer down. Perfect. Thank you. That's for the lift. They're hot. They're black and they're hot.
Oh yeah.
So walk us through that the whole build up to that, and just look at him. He's already going.
Perfect form.
Thank
He's
you.
already going.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
walk us through that that experience, that hunt, how it led up to that, your scouting, all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, so it's really cool because there's kind of like 2 trips in one here. So I planned this trip. We drew mule deer tags in Colorado. And it was cool because it was also an over-the-counter elk unit during that same time. So Colorado has 4 rifle seasons: first, second, third, and fourth. Second and third, depending on where you're at, you can hunt elk over the counter. So where we were for the mule deer, you could get an over-the-counter elk tag. So we drew the mule deer tags, and it's just one of those things. Well, like, if we don't buy the elk tag, we're gonna see bulls everywhere.
Yep.
So we bought elk tags as well. So we were pumped for this trip, and I get a few weeks off for work. I had an extra week basically outside of the 2 weeks I was going to burn for that. I really don't do anything else with my life, with my vacation. So I was like, that's the same plan this year too. It's all gone. I got 2 trips for out west this year. I'll save those. We'll talk about those. But I had this other week, and it's in the summer, and I'm like, well, maybe I could do like a really cool backpacking trip to because I'm big on just like testing your gear in the summer, go backpacking, use all the gear you're going to use for your hunt. And I've done that many times. And then I was just like, well, why don't I just go to the unit I'm going to hunt in October? It's basically a backpacking trip, but I'll scout. And I'll be like having a mission every day. Like I'll bring my spotter and look for deer. And it's like all, best of every world.
Yeah.
So it might have even been like 2 weeks before I left. It was in August. I put in the PTO and kind of like I had already done some e-scouting, but I dove into it because it's kind of weird. You're playing like they're in their summer range, but when we were going in late October, you figure they're going to start transitioning to their winter range a little bit. But so I just done a bunch more e-scouting, and I went just solo, just me, my pack, and like my Hilleberg. And I was out there in Colorado for a week, and that's the last few years, just because I love going out west. I knew this is what I wanted to do. I started going the last few years, and I just started doing little weekend trips by myself, backpacking, solo, camping out. But so this week was the longest I've ever done solo, and it was awesome, dude. It was like, oh man, I really didn't want to leave. I called my dad on the way home, and I was just like, I don't want to leave. But it was great. I was able to scout. I bombed like 2 different parts of the unit. I didn't want to spend too much time in one area, but yeah, I ended up seeing a lot of deer, a lot of good bucks, not a ton of elk. Yeah, it was great. Good confidence for coming into the hunt in October. So that was really cool because too, like, you're seeing deer like that early season. The bucks are bachelored up in their summer range, and you're just the name of the game is like, get up super early, watch them come out and feed in the morning. And it's really cool from even like a whitetail perspective because they're coming out to feed, and you're just sitting back glassing, and you're watching deer be deer. Like not necessarily like how we hunt, like in the woods, it's so thick, like you're just gonna catch deer cruising, and then you're just always wondering like, where's he going? What's he doing? Where's he bedding? What's he feeding on? But like you can just sit and watch these deer like be deer, and it's really cool. Like I always bring like a little journal and just take notes of what I see and thermals, what's going on that day. And I feel like I'm sure whitetail move a lot. Like I'm not saying they don't, but I feel like sometimes it's a lot simpler than we make it. Yeah. Like our imagination when we're up in a tree and everything's so thick around us or whatever, you're wondering what deer are doing, like how far are they going to bed and feed. But when I'm watching these mule deer and like maybe the sun comes up and it's like casting shade on one side of the basin and like they're feeding or whatever, and like they'll just move and go bed down as the sun kind of sets one way. And like it's just that simple. And then they'll just go bed kind of like right on the nearest little cover. Yeah. You're just watching this whole transition, and I'm just like, are we overthinking it? Like as whitetail hunters in the woods?
We probably are.
Yeah.
Because maybe it is just what's the easiest spot for them to bed, or what's the closest food source? Like, do they really give a shit about? I don't know. Sometimes they do. Sometimes there's different food sources like going on in the fall, but I don't know. That was just something. It was cool to watch, and that was just something I thought of. And I think keeping it more simple is something I'm going to take into account, like in the fall for whitetail hunting. But anyway, that was an awesome trip. Yeah, a week solo. I think I ran into 3 people.
Okay.
One guy was clearing trail for the Forest Service, and then there was two ladies actually. They worked for an outfitter and they were scouting for sheep because they had a sheep hunter coming in.
Oh wow.
Oh,
So it was
nice.
just like an awesome time.
So
Um,
when because you said you did e-scouting before you went out there.
yeah.
So what? Because I never even e-scouted out west. Like I never did that at all. So is it anything similar to like e-scouting for whitetails here in like on the East Coast in Pennsylvania, big on the mountain side of things?
Yeah, so I looked at it as the principles are the same. The
Yeah.
the minute details are what are going to be different.
Okay.
So I spent a lot of time doing my research online, YouTube. I read, so Robbie Denning is a big name mule deer hunter. I got his books. I even messaged a couple guys from Eastman's, just kind of picking their brain. Like Brian Barney, he's got a podcast for Eastman's. Like he's just a great dude. I messaged him a few times. I'm gonna be messaging him again for the fall here, just to pick his brain. And he was kind of explaining it, and it's still like anything. Once you see it, it makes more sense.
Right.
But
Yep.
what he likes to say is bucky terrain. So especially in that summer range, they're gonna naturally be high.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna be as high as they can with feed because that's where they feel more safe. And as long as they have their feed and some cover, they don't need to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the weather starts to roll in, that's what's going to start bringing them down. And yeah, it's a lot of the same kind of principles. So you're looking for that green, that good feed up in those basins and places just for them to hide, just for all those. And sometimes I'm drawn to this too, even for like back here, like in hill country for whitetails, but like those terrain features that just have these like folds and like all these little nooks and crannies and everything. Like it's not just one big flat, east face.
Yep.
Just little places for them to hide. And sure enough, that is where I found a lot of animal activity. So a lot of it's going to come from experience, but principles are the same for sure.
So do they scrape out there like whitetails do? Like I don't even know if mule deers do that or not.
You know what? That's like not something I hear a lot of guys talk about. I want to say I did hear that on a podcast, like mule deer laying down scrapes, but like a guy was like he did start to take stock in them just to see what he could learn, but it's definitely not a tactic. I mean, the name of the game is like glass them up. Early season, it's like glass them up, stock in, play the wind, get it done. More or less the same idea for rifle season, but you have a better chance of still hunting and things like that. But rubs, for sure. So I actually found an area where I was seeing a good bit of rubs because that's where they'll transition, come down and rut. Same thing with whitetails. And it was actually in an area where, not to have a spoiler alert, but wasn't too far from where I killed my buck. I was like, we had to relocate to this other area. And, I knew I saw some rubs on this north face where it's all thick with pine. And I was like, well, I'm just going to start there on the first day. And sure enough, that is where it worked out. So, I mean, they'll leave sign just like that. I mean, again, principles are the same, but yeah.
Do they eat like the same kind of vegetation? Are they like browsers? I imagine there's like browsers like whitetails are.
Yeah, browsers. Elk are more the grazers.
Okay.
Mule deer are more the browsers. You want some things I look for. It's just like that green up, that brush. Like, I mean, they'll come down and eat sage later in the year, and then like depending on what state you're in, sage is just more prevalent in the areas. But these high country mule deer, like, it's just that green up, brushy. I know bitter brush is what's kicked around, and I believe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah. And then just actually a lot of, and I actually just read an article talking about this. They were looking at what mule deer are mostly drawn to as far as, and it happened to go hand in hand with what's the most nutrient dense for them in their summer range. So I'm going to keep an eye on this when I go out in the fall too, but any type of flora too, like flower, in that high country. So that's something I can't say I really noticed or took stock into last year, but I just read, I was actually reading a Go Hunt article by Brady Miller, and he was saying a tool that people don't use a lot is Google Scholar. So you can go to Google Scholar, type in like mule deer habitat or like Colorado mule deer summer range, something like that. So I started Googling around. Yeah, I ended up reading this whole like research study about uh, nutrient dense food sources for mule deer. I thought it was like very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's kind of where. So it was pretty detailed, but the nugget I got from that was like when I'm glassing up, I'm gonna look for that brushy green up that I usually do, but any type of flora
Yeah.
Okay.
It's those
that you see too.
things you don't really know. Like even back home, like you don't think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone's looking for like, I gotta look for the rubs. I gotta look for the scrapes. You know, I look for the maybe even the heavy use trails, depending what you're going for, buck, doe kind of deal. Like if you break, like I think I did this maybe a year or two ago when we went up. We had the big mountain challenge, and I'm looking through stuff, and I
Oh, that's
really looked at the vegetation that was on the side of this mountain,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, well, the buds are missing.
Yep.
Like the buds on each of these flowers, like, and I'm looking, I was like, well, these were just nibbled off. And I think more people may look at it now, but I think that's just one of those things people overlook. It's like, well, what are they actually eating?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you should look outside of, you know, the rubs and scrapes if you're going for the buck. Look for what they're actually eating and where it's more, you know, prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where the deer are
Well,
going to be.
like the other day, I went out scouting. I went to hang a cell cam, and like I was looking at the green briar and all that kind of stuff, and like I was seeing the top spitting off, but it was from like last year because you could see like the top is like brown, so it's like obviously they eat that in the wintertime because you see that being brown now. So like like you're right, you're 100% right, Ethan. Like people find the scrapes, rubs, you know, the obvious sign, but like. There's obviously they're really good hunters, like Weston. He looks at the
Don't let his head get too big. Hold on now.
But
I don't know every genus and species of the plant.
No, I don't know.
Honest, no.
I don't.
I just know. I just kind of look for what they like. I can give a shit what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like you see like the green of almost anything that's green right now is going to be eaten. Like if you see good vegetation, like my one spot that I hung the camera at, it's right near a power line. So it's like they're in there, they're eating that. Like they have a heavy trail going through there. It's like, you know, clearly that's good food source for them, even in wintertime, because it's going to stay greener longer because it's going to get sun more often. So like, yeah.
They love hosta, whitetails. I love it.
No idea what that is, to be honest.
Hosta, it's a plant. Well, you figured
Well,
it's
I figured
a
it's
plant.
a plant.
Yeah. The hosta. My mom loves her hosta. She has a whole bunch right next to the
those
house.
things.
Yeah, and they have here's like the purple flowers on hers. They have the big bushy stuff. But she purposely planted some down at the pine trees, like around the edge, because the deer come from the woods behind their house. They go through the backyard, and then they cross the street, and they go towards 743. So mom's like, well, we'll just plant some hosta here they can, you know, have a snack on the way out, and without fail, they eat it. So if you find hosta, I don't know if it grows naturally, or if someone like threw it out in a field somewhere. If you find it, there's going to be deer because they, without fail, they will eat it every time. They love it. It's like a snack to them, really.
That's a great food plot idea. Like a little kill plot of like hosta.
Just do hosta.
There you go.
And it's good.
Boom.
The bees love it too if they ever get to flower, because the deer do a number on them. That's for sure.
So back to like the e-scouting thing.
Yep.
What for the listeners because I know we have a few people who that follow us that are trying to go out west or did go out west. Natalie, I think she went out west this past year or is planning going out.
Year, yeah.
Yeah. So what would be like some tips to them for that western? Like what features do you look at? Like you said, like that multiple kind of terrain feature, that kind of stuff.
Yep, definitely. Folds in the terrain. That's a big one. A lot. It kind of worked out good because the spot where we ended up relocating, it was massive, like north-south running ridges. So then you have your east-west fingers coming off each one.
Yep.
So each finger created a very tight, like micro fingers coming down of like these north and south slopes. So every single finger off this main ridge was the north and south slope. The north slopes were so thick of pine, you know, blow down of all the pines and everything. Perfect bedding. So easy for them to come right up over the top on the south slope and feed. So that's something that was key. And then all through those little fingers, yeah, there were some folds, there was some things like that. It's really that. It's really, I mean, just doing your research online, just trying to figure out where. I mean, yeah, you can look at your whole unit, but you got to just start like breaking it down in bite-sized pieces. I mean, parts of your unit, depending on what time of year you're going, the country is not going to be high enough. Like the deer, that's their winter range. You want to look for the higher country, that's their summer range. Same thing with elk.
Yeah.
And so they're always going to be higher earlier and then eventually push down. Things like that. I mean, dude, a huge help is like you got to call, be a nice, be cool. Don't be like, where are they at kind of thing. Dude, I call CPW. I call the Forest Service. I try to bullshit with them guys. And like, I don't say like, where are the elk? Like I will, this is just a tip that I've learned, that people can feel free to use. Like get very detailed with your questions. Definitely from the start. And because these guys, like, they either don't want to talk to you or they give everybody the same answer.
Yep.
So do all your research first. Like have your plan A, B, C, D, E spots or whatever. And then don't call right before the season either, or right before the application deadline, because people are doing that too.
Yeah.
But I will call and I'll ask like, hey, I'm coming out in the fall. I see this access road or this trail. It says motorized, but this other thing's telling me non-motorized. Is that hike, or people are going to ride quads in there, or something like that? Like what this trail, whatever, is that good to hike on, or whatever, just something like that, really specific. So then you start getting answers like that and be like, okay, well, and just go back and forth, bullshit, just try to be a nice guy, I guess. And then be like, all right, well, I'm actually coming during the second rifle season for elk in this whole south area of southern part of this unit. That's kind of where my attention's at. Like, because to me, it looks like, I got this big north slope off Mount whatever, and that's where I think I want to spend a lot of my time. Like, what do you think about that? So do all your research first. Don't sound like you don't, you're not educated on the area. Get very specific. And that's helped me a lot. I've started doing that for my trips this fall, and it helped us last year.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that, because I actually got a tip from a warden here in Pennsylvania about like an area to check out because of this. I did that. I just called to make sure I could hunt this area because it was near a certain trail that people walk a lot. And I was like, hey, can I hunt this area right here? He said, yeah, you got to be 150 yards off that trail, but I would check out this area because a lot of deer get pushed here because everyone during rifle season pushed them there. So I was like, okay. And then I hung a camera there, and I had deer all the time. Like I had a massive buck that came through right there during the rut. Like every buck I had on camera at that point was daylighting. Like 11 to 2 o'clock, they were always on camera.
Yeah, and the other story I want to tell real quick too was when I was scouting out there. I said I ran into only a couple people. Two of them were outfitters scouting for sheep, and I heard them like on horses, and I was glassing like into this basin. And I was like, what the hell? Like, I haven't talked to anybody in like 3 days or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, people. And then, so we started talking. Again, I didn't straight up ask where are the deer. Right. I was like, we just ended up bullshitting. I said, like, yeah, I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm just out here scouting. Immediately, they thought, like, wow, good for you. So we started bullshitting a good bit. And it was cool because they were working so hard to find sheep. And I was looking down kind of into this basin because I was up high, but it peaked out at like 13,000. If I just moved my spotter, I could kind of see all that. And she said, hey, here's my number. If you start glassing sheep, text me. Like, can you let me know? And I was like, of course. I was like, if I see a sheep, I'm going to like phone scope it and I'm going to tell the whole world. Like, I love it out here. But I was like, no, of course. And then got her contact. I even said, like, we're going to be hunting down here or whatever. And I was texting her just about my hunt too. Like, hey, after I left, this is kind of where I ended up. This is where I saw some bucks. And she was a big help too. And then even on the way out, I was texting her about the weather in the area, just trying to be cool. But I kept in my head like, look for these sheep, like add value to her. Don't just try to, people always try to take like from everybody, like try to, help each other. So that was huge. But that started with like, I could easily just have them like ride past and whatever. But like, I don't know, dude. Just talk to people and like try to be cool. So
Yeah, I
you
mean,
never know what you might get.
yeah, like the book I'm reading right now that you messaged me about that you said you read that one too. I forget the name of the title of the book right now, but it's
The
how to
Whitetail book.
no, it's it has nothing to do with hunting.
Oh, how to win friends and influence
Yes,
people. Yeah.
yes, and it's like that. You're exactly what you're saying is exactly true. Like and I've started incorporating that into my everyday life, and it's like I feel a lot better, and it's a lot more enjoyable, and I'm never really like not in always in a good mood, but it's like always it's more likely than not I'm in a good mood, and it turns it around. Like I like hearing other people's stories now more than just wanting to add. Like right before it was like
Yes.
just wanting to ask questions, and now it's like you actually listen and you actually hear this stuff because you want to hear. People like to be the center of attention and like to feel
Yeah.
important, and it's like that's
Yep.
it's
Absolutely.
true. It's 100%
That's
true.
the essence of the book. And then when you start hearing other, and especially if like you guys having a podcast, you're doing it like you guys are doers, and you start asking people questions about themselves, and they're talking about like obviously they're going to get excited to tell their story, and then it's like you're getting just as excited as them because like you're winning in your own world, and like you want to hear them win, and then like and then people walk away and like they're just like I've never had somebody ask me so many questions or like no that's a great book, and I know it might sound weird if like
it's a weird title,
the
but
title
like
of
it's
it, but the whole essence of it is like just
Yeah.
being a better communicator and a good person, and I think everybody should read that book.
Yeah.
It's a great book.
Ethan, you're reading it after I'm done with it.
Okay. Be the first book I read in a long time. Haven't read a book. I mean, I even noticed that like went on a fishing trip, I guess you can say, fishing camp. That could be another episode. That would be for the 200th because I definitely want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But like just listening to like these guys that we went with, they love to fish. They love to fly fish, and it's just like hearing the stories, and I'll be like, oh well, what? Just start asking questions, and then they're just like, let me tell you more, and they're just so happy. Just like
and then you're learning from them.
Yeah, and then you just trade stuff.
Something out of it too. Like
Trade back and forth stories, and then you're like, oh, I tried this. Like we were like, granted, me and my dad were using spinning rods, and then they were all fly fishing, but we'd still, I know, amateurs, but we were still asking, like, hey, what are you using?
Yeah.
What are you guys using? Like, hey, I'm using corn. Like I caught fish on corn. I was like, hey, I caught these on corn. I said, you guys got any yellow flies? Use yellow flies. And I don't know if they had any, but they were looking at different stuff, and then they were pulling some. I was like, we were just going back, and we didn't care. Okay, everyone's catching fish. We're happy. You know, it's not necessarily you still wanted to catch the biggest one, but not a competition in the aspect of like, oh, you're not allowed to catch any fish. You know, like, no, we want everyone catching.
Absolutely, I think that's great advice for listeners who want to go out west. Like, ask questions, like call them up, like. If you see someone out there like who's walking maybe by themselves or in a group, like ask them, like, hey, maybe they're just hikers. Maybe ask them, like, hey, have you seen any deer? Have you seen anything out here? Elk? Any good sign? Like anything like that? Like,
Could you so I guess just kind of like put it in perspective for people that like, oh, have been like on the fence of doing it kind of deal. Like, is it because when you're talking, like it's a lot of work. I mean, clearly not going to sugarcoat it. It's a lot of work to go out west to hunt and everything. Is it possible or not to basically go in, I want to say going blind, but like here, let's say here in PA, you e-scout an area that you've never been to, like, okay, I want to check this, and this out, and then you just go there and just go, right? You can do that here in Pennsylvania. Out there, I feel like you could e-scout, but you can't really just drop some pins and then just go there. You have to do there's a lot more steps.
Well, it depends what your expectations are. I mean, if you're just dropping some pins, you want to get out there and just to learn and hopefully get around some elk, which I don't think is a horrible plan for your first year because it is a lot of work. And this is like, so I found success, but I had a couple years of not coming home with an animal. Like, there is a lot to learn. And then I study this stuff all year round. Like, I don't wait until like 2 weeks before to drop a pin and head out there. So it's all about what you want. I can't say, there's a right or wrong way to do it, but I'm just going to stack the odds in my favor as much as I can. Like I can't help it. Like I want it. I want the success too bad. So
I think if you had like maybe say you're going off 2 weeks, all right. Like if I'm going out there for 2 weeks out west, maybe I just go out in there. That's when I go in blind, maybe like a semi-blind, right? Like you can lay down pins, you can do all that kind of stuff, but like you just go out there and you just walk and you just, especially if you're rifle hunting, like you just walk out there and you just find these spots that you checked out. You glass a little bit, then maybe that it's almost like whitetails when you scout more than you hunt. So like you scout the first 4 days you're out there, then you hunt the last 2. For whitetails, it's like maybe you could do that. Maybe
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I do feel like out east, you can pretty much find a piece of game land or state forest, and you kind of know where guys are hunting just by driving around.
Yep. Oh yeah,
dude. When you get out west, like into hundreds of thousands of acres of national forest, like you really feel small and like can't recommend doing that because like you also can't drive everywhere either. Like you can't. I don't know, dude. I'd hate to just waste that. You're gonna waste that if you're out for 2 weeks. You're gonna waste a week.
I think I was just
where the hell you're at and what you can even get to, let alone finding signs of an animal. It's so big and so vast. You gotta at least have attack points and something that's gonna give you confidence when you get out there.
Yep.
Like, because it doesn't sit well with me. By a couple points, and I went out there. Like your head might not even be in the game. If you talk to people that might have hunted out there, which I mean that's hard to find, but or at least talk to people about what to look for. You make the calls to the fish and game. You read the books, you stack all the odds, and then it's like, okay, you drop these few pins back in these basins or on this thick north slope. Dude, like you're on a mission. You get out there, you're on a mission. You're gonna be seeking, like I'm just a big like what you seek is what you'll find kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna believe the animal's there, and like you're gonna be seeking it, and like call it magic or the universe, how the universe works, or God, but like that's when you see animals. I can't explain it, but that's how it works.
No, so. I mean, I was talking to my ass there. I don't know anything about out hunting out west. So
I know. No, I get it. Though.
But I think it helps.
You just wanna, if it's your first year, you just want to go.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, that first year, it's so tough, man. Like, just getting out there and getting around some other animals. I don't even, and we're not even talking about backpack hunting. If you can get out there and just live in your tent for a week and not have like a major catastrophe, again, you're doing all right.
Yeah.
So that's a skill in itself.
Yeah, I think it helps, like laying it all out like this, because like it kind of, I want to say like a reality check for people that have never done it. Just kind of like, hey, you're not just gonna go buy a tag and do this on a whim kind of deal. Like you got to be able to, again, like you said, what are your expectations? What do you expect? Everyone's a little different what they want to get out of a trip. But if you expect to put an animal down and do all this, you're not just going to go get your tags, start looking at pins a week before you leave, and you're setting yourself up for failure, almost guaranteed.
I talk about it like I love this, like I'm going to be doing this forever, but dude, it's hard. It's hard as hell, especially if it's a DIY public land, never been to the unit, like how we did last fall. Like, dude, it's hard. Like, I don't care what people on social media show or what guys will tell you, like, and there's levels to it. Like, I'm sorry, like if you're with a guide and you're staying in a cabin and everything's kind of picked out for you, in the morning they're gonna drive you out on the side by side up to this knob and you're gonna glass, and then the elk are probably gonna be down in this bottom. That's cool if that's what you want to do, but that's oranges. We're talking about apples, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's completely two different experiences. Like, the end result is kind of both fulfilling, but yet they're two, like apples and oranges on that thing.
And people are going to see that gripping print of that big 6x7 bull.
Yep.
And like, I want to hunt out west. Like, okay, understand that's not, unless you have the means, that's not what you're going to go do if you want to if you can only just DIY it. And there is something to like, I don't know if that person that was their first year doing it, they had the means,
Yep.
or they got set up by somebody. And again, I'm not talking crap on it. Like, it's all good stuff. That's what makes them happy.
Mm-hmm.
They grab those antlers, and it's just like, oh, this is like awesome, like cool or whatever. But for me, dude, a couple years of getting my butt kicked.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading articles. I'm doing stuff all year round. I overtrain. I do way too much. Like,
Yeah,
I obsess over this. And when I
obvious.
grab that little, I can't, maybe not little, but 130, maybe I'll give myself 140-inch 4x4 mule deer. When I grab that thing, after all the heartache and years of just blood, sweat, and tears, when I grab that thing, dude, you would have thought I was making Boone and Crockett biggest mule deer buck ever.
Yeah.
Yep.
That was the most fulfilling thing ever, because I had this passion just grow for so long of just all the heartache. So now what I try to do, which I still kind of struggle with, is like, dude, I gotta look back on those like elk hunts where I didn't come home with anything and be thankful, because I wouldn't have the fire I did now if like that first year on day 2, like I heard that elk bugle and like I killed him right there. Like, I'm sure I'd still love Western hunting and I'd still do it, but I don't know if I'd have the fire I do now, because I know how hard it takes, and like I've got my butt kicked for so long.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I think this quick little rabbit hole. I think people getting into it now, we've had a discussion before, like they don't have that failure. And I think that's what kept me in it for so long, like so many years of not necessarily failures, but like not getting a buck down, like just getting a doe down every year. And then Ethan for 10 years didn't get one down like that. Sometimes you benefit more from all those years of failure, like those, and makes you stronger. And it's like you have more of a passion for it because you don't have this instant success right away. You know what I mean? Like it's like you have this deep burning desire to get that mule deer, elk, buck, even doe down. Like you just have this desire. And I think, the younger generation getting into it now just has kind of like that, wants that instant gratification of like, oh, I get a buck down, or get an elk down, or get a 200-inch buck down. Or like I've seen kids now, like they're 9 years old getting like a 170-inch buck. And it's like, that's not teaching them really anything. Like hunting is deeper than just like getting something down, getting a big buck down, getting something else. Like it teaches us something that we can't get necessarily somewhere else.
You grow as a person in all the adversity, because if like, you kill on that trip I talked about on day 2, you grab that bull, and then, you kind of miss out on the wisdom. And the wisdom is like tools in your tool belt. Because when you want to come back, you can think about all these hard like lessons you had to learn. But if you would come back, you kill that bull on day 2, you kind of got set up to do that. And it's kind of just like, how'd you do it? Well, I just shot him. Like, it was crazy. But like, the wisdom you accrue from years of heartache. I mean, dude, I scripted how I killed that mule deer. Like, it was crazy. Like and I was so present in that moment. Like, I can tell you exactly where he was. Like the map is like imprinted in my head. Like, I know exactly what was going on. And I learned just so much to be able to get that success. And then it's like, now also I accrued all that knowledge, and I'm just going to keep leveraging it.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's a perfect tee up to like, let's get into the nitty gritty of it. Let's get into that mule deer hunt. Let's get into that. Yeah,
I know we've been talking for a while. We haven't gotten into the hunt.
It's all right. I enjoyed every second of it.
Yeah. So now here's the hunt. So we go out there, second gun season, end of October. It starts for season's 9 days. So we pack in the day before. It was nice. I kind of had it, all scouted. So we didn't have to waste too much time there. And then packing in, for the day out. So we're like 11 days in the field. Okay. Which again, that in itself is like a skill. So like if your expectation is that right away, just spend some nights back east, like here in your tent. Like just try to build that skill first. But anyway, so we go out there and it's crazy. We know there's snow coming, but there's no snow up on the mountain, even up at like 12,000 feet. And I scouted a lot up there because that's where a lot of deer were still up in their summer range. And I'm like, I can't help but shake the feeling. I'm like, these animals aren't going to move unless the weather moves them. They don't know what day of the year it is. I'm like, let's go high, because spent some lower stuff, meaning like 9,000 feet,
Mm-hmm.
8,500 to 9,500. That's where I saw a lot of the rubs and stuff. Like I think that's where they come down and rut.
Okay.
Again, these are just little pieces. Like they could go deer or everywhere, but
Yeah.
like that was just a good kind of rut transition spot. But I'm like, let's go high because the weather's not here yet, and we knew there was snow coming the next day. And I kind of just like I was like, let's at least drive up there and scout it out. And it's my dad and actually my buddy from college. So we pack in a few miles, and it's crazy, man. We woke up opening day to like 3 foot of snow. Like I'm not even kidding. Like it was like I got pictures on my Instagram. It was almost a feeling of like, are we gonna be okay, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because the snow never stopped, and that was probably one of the coldest nights I've had out there too. I mean, we were good. I mean, we practiced for it, but it was a little bit like, oh man. And my buddy, that was his first year out west. It was pretty wild to watch him kind of go through all this. And he's just in my little 2-man Hilleberg, which I don't know if I ever told him isn't really a 4-season tent. It's a 3-season tent.
Yeah.
But they're bomb proof. Like they're not going to collapse. But is it really for winter camping? I mean, not really.
No.
And then we were in our my dad has a Kafaru sawtooth teepee tent. But we were good. So we get up and there's snow everywhere. And I'm like, we can't even hunt effectively.
Right.
Like we can't even move through this snow. So the plan for the day is like I hiked as far as I could to see kind of like this little opening. We're down in this bottom drainage, but we're up at like 12,000 or 11,000. And I'm like, I think the plan today is like, we'll just see what's going on in the morning. I'm just going to try to get somewhere where I can like, not even glass, just like have my binos up and just see. And we'll work our way out of here. Like, I don't want to waste time. So we spend all day packing out of this like hellhole because we couldn't kind of climb out of where we came down because it was so nasty. We actually climbed like down the elevation, down this chute, and then try to get like underneath like the truck and then just do one big climb up to the truck because we were hoping there wasn't as much snow at this elevation to go up at that point.
Yeah.
But there still was. There was times where we're climbing and like the ground is touching like your face. Like it's so steep. And like you're climbing over. It took us all day just to get out.
Holy crap.
So we get out of there and it's like, okay, that sucked. But like you kind of just laugh through it.
Yeah.
You hump it out and whatever. So I'm like, okay, new plan. Let's go to like my plan B. Lower elevation. It's the transition zone. See how much snow's there. I think it might actually be ideal now. Like it was actually, in hindsight, you're torn between two areas. An extreme like that, like the snow, gave us like the activation energy to be like we weren't torn. We weren't like, should we stay or should we go? It was just like, it was actually nice. You know, the snow sucked, but something extreme like that is just like, we need to go.
Yeah.
So it made the decision easier. So we get down there and yeah, it looks pretty good. So there wasn't as much snow, maybe about 6 inches it had down there. And we're at like 9,500, 9,000. We're camping this creek bottom. It was actually nice. It opened up, flattened out in this creek bottom. We had these big ridges to hunt off of. These were these big north-south running ridges. And I'm like, all these fingers. I'm like, this is perfect. And the one ridge, when I was scouting solo in August, I had climbed up from the other side and kind of got on top of this ridge. So I kind of knew the area a good bit, like already.
Mm-hmm.
So next morning, so we pack in there. Next morning, it's like, okay, now we're back to hunting. Like, restart, we're good. We pack in, and then we can hunt that evening. Because we had to go spend a night in town. We didn't get out till dark. And it was like hiking in 3 miles in the dark. We don't know where we're going. So we go back into town. We're like, holy shit, this trip is just whatever. Wasn't effective. So we get up super early in the morning, start hiking in. We're like, we just need a good restart. So we get in, set up camp. All right, so that evening, we're back on. We're hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Dad's climbing up this ridge. My buddy's going this way. And I'm going up in this big saddle. It was so funny, man, because like we're sitting up there for a couple hours and like I'm glassing. I'm like, God, this is just beautiful. And like this terrain looks really bucky and like, this is it.
Yeah.
And I hear it. And I'm like, holy shit, like somebody got something. You don't have any service or anything. We had the Garmin inReaches and I wasn't getting any messages from anybody.
Yeah.
But it ended up being my dad. So my dad killed a buck. and I didn't get to him till dark. But he got it. He was good. And it was just this forky mule deer. But again, you would have thought he killed a Boone and Crockett. It was awesome. So we scored first day.
Nice.
So we pack him out. Next morning, same plan. I get back up to my spot, and we're feeling good. Like, we're doing it. There's an element of like these trips where it's like you want to get that feeling of like you're doing something right, and like, we're doing it. So we're all excited. I glassed that morning. I think I saw some does or whatever, and ended up doing like a midday. This is like a good tactic too for mule deer or elk. Like, mornings and evenings are always going to be your best bet. That's when they're going to come out and feed and be the most active. But midday, just sneaking through those bedding areas, playing the wind, doing the best you can. So I'm hunting on this. It was the west side of this slope, but it was a lot more thick with some pines. And I'm kind of just riding the top because the sun's now heating up in the middle of the day, so your thermals are all rising.
Yep.
So I want to stay high on this ridge, kind of like look out in front of me and kind of look down, keep mostly nothing above me. And I'm going through the timber, and I just kind of see like something just like catch my eye. And I'm still hunting, and I got this I really tried to practice this a lot too, even whitetail hunting. Like out of Robbie Denning's book, he talks a lot about just still hunting tactic. And it's like, God, I don't think we realize how slow we need to be. Even if you're doing that for a whitetail, like just so slow. And that's what I was doing. And I just saw this kind of swift motion through the pines. And I'm like, all right, I'm like not moving. I'm just so still, everything. And then I just see this like buck kind of crest over this ridge, like 60 yards, doesn't know I'm there. And I'm like, oh my God, I put the gun up. And he turns his head, and I see like 4, like 2 by 2, like up top. And I'm like, plenty. So shot him, rolled him off the mountain. And I was just so pumped, man. Like I got some videos that people want to see on my Instagram. Like I, holding the buck and just taking in that moment, and couldn't have asked for a better just experience. Like it was amazing. And what's crazy is like I go over to the buck, I'm looking at Onyx, and I kind of knew this already, but I drew a line. Dude, I spent a night in the tent, and this was that kind of rut zone where I saw some rubs and stuff and some does and everything. I was like 100 yards from where I pitched the tent up on top of that ridge in August during my scouting trip. So it all happened like right there. Nice. It was so crazy. Like in the video, I'm like, I scouted this ridge. Like I was right here.
Yeah.
So got the buck down, and then the crazy part happened. So then now it's just me. Oh, I cut some mountain lion tracks about 50 yards before where I killed this buck.
No big deal.
So that's always nice to think about too when I'm quartering them up. So I quartered them up. I got everything laid out. It's just me. The in reaches aren't really working good again, but I got it. I no bullshit. Bone in. I have the whole deer on my back, and I left the cape on its head, just in case I wanted to mount it, whatever. And I finally get up to lock, and I'm like, I'm about 2 miles and way up on top of this ridge from camp. And I somehow roll over with all this on my back, one trip. And then just like my day gear of like clothes and my gun and everything. And I'm like, this is going to hurt like really bad. Like this is a lot of weight. So I don't know. 4x4 bone-in mule deer, quartered up, head, hide, miscellaneous gear. I don't like putting numbers to things that I don't know, but that it was heavy.
Yeah.
So I'm walking out the ridge, and I'm just like, this is so awesome, but so painful. Like,
Yeah.
It was like running an ultra marathon. I was like, I love this so much, but how do I get this pain to stop?
But also, you got to figure like you're also walking in snow too, which.
So yes, and it wasn't snow, and like on top of this ridge because we were at some lower elevation. It was like this crusted snow over this like just some like grass that was like up high on this ridge, and it was like the worst thing to walk in. So I finally catch up with my dad, but I'm just now in this mental state of like, this is just what I live for. Like, just give me all the pain and like whatever. Like I don't care. I love it. But we're going, and he's like, just give me a meat bag. And I'm like, I got it. But then like another 100 yards, I'm like, all right, you want to take it back? So, but it was crazy. He got this picture of me though. Like I'm on top of the ridge. I got everything loaded down. I'm sitting there, and my knees are just killing me. And he's just like, Wes, don't move. This is the picture. So I got it on my Instagram, and I actually put it into a rock slide contest, and like I got second place. I got Robbie Denning runs rock slide, and I got one of his books. That was my prize. But the pic was so nice. It's like the moon, and then I'm just there packing out, and like my head's down, but it's like the struggle.
Yeah.
But success. So it was just so awesome. So eventually we get this buck down. It's all taken care of. And and then really we had 5 more days to chase elk. And my buddy didn't have a mule deer tag. He just had an elk tag.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So we're all just chasing elk. So the rest of the trip, we saw some other mule deer, a lot of forkies and does, nothing like what I killed. But we were looking at these big grazing areas too for the elk. We kind of like shifted our minds a little bit, and chased a bunch of elk, a bunch of cows, calves, little spikes. It's got to have 4 on one side. And my dad saw one at some distance, like really far. He glassed up. My buddy and I chased one through the timber that totally winded us, but he was definitely big enough. And then we did run into a couple guys that ended up killing not far from camp, but it's cool. I ended up getting that guy's info, and he lives in Idaho, and he's kind of helping. Well, he's never hunted where I'm hunting, but I'm just picking his brain. But so like there was elk there, and we were chasing them, and almost got that done too. But yeah, it was like an awesome trip. It was so sweet. My buddy's never hunted out west. He like had days where I remember I was glassing up on this other ridge, and I'm like, I know Alex is up there somewhere. I ended up seeing pictures because I saw all these elk like in this, like where I thought he was going to set up in the morning. He was laying on his stomach, and he had all these like cows and calves like around, like literally all over him. And then the one cow like winded him and barking at him, and she's like right there. He's got it all on video, and he was like, dude, this was like the greatest trip. Like it was awesome. I mean, it was definitely super cold, super tough. Like every morning you're climbing, and every night you're coming back late climbing down. Like water's an issue. Like there's always a suck. Like we'd get up 4 a.m, whatever it took. Like it's tough, but like parties just gotta love it, and we absolutely loved it, and it was awesome.
Wow, that's just perfect.
Sorry, I was just writing down the title of the podcast. Sorry,
I could
you got
tell
it?
that story for hours. I don't know. I don't want to
I
go
was
too crazy,
no, I was
but,
literally just I had to write down the title of the podcast before I continued on. But like,
Never mind. Yeah, we're good.
But so when you're packing it out, like I agree with you on the hardship of it.
Yeah.
Like going through all that, putting all the time in to scout, to do all this stuff, and then like to have that success, and like when you here in PA, like we don't necessarily pack out all that much because of some places we're close to the road. So you have like you shoot it and it's like, okay, gotta drag it to the road now. But like when you're out there, or like when you're up in like north central Pennsylvania, northeast Pennsylvania, northwest Pennsylvania, like the Allegheny National Forest, or up in Clinton, Potter County, when you pack them out, it's like it adds this extra like reward to it. Like when you get to put that animal, you get to like sit in the woods, you can take it all in. You don't have to rush around and drag it out of the woods because other hunters are around, all that kind of stuff. Like take your time, and like you get to pack this thing out, you get to carry it out on your back. It's like it's pretty freaking awesome.
Dude, I started packing out animals just to practice for out west. I don't do it any other way anymore. I love it. It's my next, besides killing the animal, but it's my favorite part.
Yeah.
I love it. I feel, not to sound too hippie, but like spiritually, I feel a lot more connected to the animal. And then it's like I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I just feel more connected to the animal. I guess that's a good way to put it.
It adds more emotion because like when I packed out a doe up at Ethan's during 2 years ago during rifle season. It added just more connection. Like it was the only deer I got that year. And it was right before my daughter was born. And it was like just added this more connection to it of packing it out and doing all that stuff. It's just, you're 100% right. Like it's more emotion. It's more connection to this animal that you just put so much time into harvest. Like your plan wasn't to harvest, maybe not harvest that particular deer, but it's like you did because of all the work you put in. And it's just, it's crazy how emotionally connected we are to these animals. And then it's like, you can't really explain it to a non-hunter. You can't explain this feeling. Like I can't even explain it to you guys, because my emotion could be completely different than what Weston's is or what Ethan's is, like, or the listeners. Like, the connection is completely different for everyone, and it just, you have a deeper meaning and root to this sport. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, it's pretty cool because it's like a snowflake. No one's going to be the same. No one's going to be anything like that. Like, it's going to be completely different for everyone, and that's the beauty of it.
That was a beautiful analogy right there.
Thanks.
Every experience is like a snowflake. Bunch of snowflakes, I tell you.
All right, let's.
But plus dragging a deer out, that's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I'd rather put it on my back.
You end up yelling at the deer anyway. You stupid mother, trying to get it over a log. And
especially when it's a doe and you have to like pull it out by its legs.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, awful.
Granted, I can't.
Yeah, you can't
freaking hold a stick to any of your story or anything when it comes to that, but like dragging the doe from up on the quarry back to the cabin.
Yeah.
And it was in the rain. I was still was a pain in the ass, and I was like, I loved it because I got one. Like, it was like after the fact, like the whole process of just dragging it from here to the cabin sucked. But then once it was hung up in the tree and like my dad was taking
70 yards.
There you go.
Okay, maybe 170. Thank you. But like having it up in the tree, and then at the end, like Dad's taking pictures, we're looking at it and doing everything, and it was just like that sigh, like, yes, I'm going to be sore as shit tomorrow, but it's such a relief, and such a a satisfying,
fulfillment,
Plus,
100%.
Now to the fitness side of things, because I should not have been as tired or sore dragging a damn doe 170 yards.
It was a 10-year-old doe.
It was a 10-and-a-half-year-old doe. 10 and a half.
Well, are we getting to fitness now?
Yep.
All right. Well, then there's your dumbbells, Ethan.
So,
you got to lift
go.
when he answers.
How? I mean,
no, you can wait till after he starts answering.
I have to do like a warm-up set as I'm doing it.
Don't pull muscle with 4-pound weights.
I don't know the last time I actually worked out.
Well,
I'll be honest. It's been such a long time.
Here
Like,
we go.
I even know, like, I have no problem. Like, I know, obviously, I can be in a hell of a lot better shape. But, like, I have no problem walking in the woods all day. Like, I do it. Like, during hunting season, I'll just walk. I know I'm going to be so tired or sore at the end of the day, but, like, I don't complain. I don't, like, I'm just like, all right, let's go.
Yep.
Like, I'm happy. It's fine. But it's like, man, I should be in better shape.
Yeah.
Like, just to get that, just something. I mean, I see all these guys. I mean, you constantly working out and running, Weston. Like, Cody, I know you said you want to get more into it, but, like, you work out more than I do.
2 days a week at least.
Yeah, that's 2 days more than me. I see, who else? Howie.
Ryan Glitsky.
Yeah. I mean, they're always posting something but working out, and then I'm over here just, like,
watching them.
I was like, yes, if I could just take some of that from your Instagram story, it'd be fine. But it's like, it's more of a mindset thing. Like, getting into it, Weston, you're the workout, aficionado here. Getting into it, like, what's like, I don't even know like how to word this. Like, just you got to dive into this kind of thing.
Definitely a huge thing here. It's kind of like the type of motivation, and this is definitely part of it. And for the listeners, I'll say, I just recently got my NASM certified personal trainer.
Oh.
Literally for nice girl.
My questions were done.
Literally for the reason of, one, like, I see you can Google anything like about diet or whatever and like contradict everything. There's just so much crap out there. It's so hard for people, and I just want to help guys, especially like the hunters. I feel like
I'm sorry. Okay,
like a lot of
keep going.
You're making me laugh.
I don't know if I'm gonna mess them up.
I feel like I can definitely help guys out, and I want to. And then the other reason too is like selfishly, I love learning, and I just wanted to learn to help, with my performance too.
Yeah.
So getting started, I think what really is a good frame to think is there's two types of goals you want to have. It's kind of like an extrinsic and then a process goal. So your extrinsic goal might be like, I want to bench press 225 pounds.
Mhm.
Or I want to look good for the beach. Like, or I want to run a 8-minute mile. Like that's your target. Okay. And then what you need to do is have a set of process goals to get there. Like that's my target. And to get there, I'm going to exercise 3 days a week. I'm going to, um, manipulate my diet in this way. And the thing about it, though, is it needs to be very specific. And another good book I like to recommend is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I mean, it all comes down to discipline. Like, there's no magic in that book, but it just kind of gives you an awareness of like some things that can help. So if you get really specific with your process goals, like whatever your daily routine is, like you get up at 6 o'clock, you eat breakfast, you get to work at 8, you come home at 5, whatever. Start stacking a habit in that somewhere. So either before work or after work, like you're always just bringing your gym bag, for an example. When you're 3 days a week, you're going to train. And maybe like if you're training before work, like you just put those workout clothes on first or something. Like just get very specific. And like, I'm going to work, I have to be at work at 8. I am going to work out from 6 to 7 every morning. Every Monday, I'm going to do this. Every Wednesday, I'm going to do this. Every Friday, I'm going to do this. What helps me is like writing things down too, like checking a box and like just sticking to that process goal. It's going to make that extrinsic goal a lot more tangible because everybody thinks like, oh, I just want a 6-pack. I want a 6-pack. I want a 6-pack, but they have no path to get there. And like, they end up just doing the same nothing every day. So that's a great way to kind of set up a system to motivate yourself. I would recommend just for anybody, like not even like, sure, you can use this to just get in shape for the fall too, but at a minimum, I mean, everybody's crunched for time. But if you can, I mean, and even recommend 150 minutes of moderate exercise a week, 75 minutes of vigorous exercise a week. And I know people don't have time and like, it's tough to just get that. But I would say if you can get 3 days a week of some sort of, because guys will ask, like, should I run? Should I lift? Like, what should I do? I would say yes. Let's do all of it. If there's something you like more or something you want to work on more, leverage that a little bit more. But some sort of low intensity, zone 2 type training, like a running or like a rucking or cycling. I think that's a great start. A resistance training, so like a lift, you can even do some sort of full body. It could even be like some body weight stuff, but something that's really resisting, like putting resistance on those muscles. And the third thing I'd say is some sort of higher intensity, like that works. Maybe you're getting into like your interval stuff, just something that's going to increase that heart rate, increase that threshold. And like if you're doing that each time, 40 minutes, like you're gonna be so there you go. You're gonna be so better off. So
yeah,
that's kind of like my little spiel on like kind of how to get a plan and like motivate, and then actual like tangible things like somebody can do.
Right.
And then it just takes time, dude, and like just keep showing up. Like I can't stress that enough. Like that's the only way I've really been able to progress with running. Like you just have to trust it and keep showing up.
When did it click for you? Because I know you said you were doing it for like 2 years. You were really trying to work out. But like, when did it really like click? Like, was it after your like successful hunt out west? Was it after that you were like, I kind of like this working out. Like, I really dig this, like run a long distance, all that kind of stuff, like really being in shape. Was that what clicked, or what clicked for you that you were like, I'm going to do this now?
Yeah. So this is huge. And I think this is like a good nugget for life and something I'm trying to take with me. I think there's a lot of value in not, there you go.
Oh, I heard that. Yo, he cracked on the first one.
I think there's a lot of value, and not to say that like I'm good, but figuring out inputs and outputs and like sticking with a process that's really hard, something you have to like force yourself to do, and something you want. But just sticking with that over a long period of time really does produce outputs. Like going from not being able to run 3 miles at one time, only 4 years ago, to now qualifying for Boston. And then actually in my trail race, I qualified for Western States. 100 mile, which is like a big famous trail race.
Yeah.
So like, it's just the simple fact of like learning, oh, life is really not just exercise, it's like literally just inputs and outputs. It makes you fall in love with the process more. So like that's why like I can't wait to get on like my next training. Like I'm still always running, but like dial in for my next race. Or I translated that to lifting because I've always lifted even through college and after, but it's just like everybody else. Oh, I'm plateaued, dude. I can't lift more than 225 on the bench. Like that's just my plateau. That's my genetics. That's what it is. I lied to myself for years.
Yeah.
Like I took those lessons I learned from running and getting better, and took that to weightlifting, and then I learned too. Like I was getting better, kept showing up, started cleaning up other parts of my diet and things like that because you kind of just get obsessed with like learning and getting better. And then I bench pressed this winter more weight than I ever did, and like way more. And I was like, I lied to myself for so long because I just didn't understand that like literally like inputs and outputs. And that's when it really, I don't know what maybe race it was that it really clicked. Maybe even that first marathon because I had run for like maybe 2 years ish before I ran my first race, which was a marathon.
Yeah.
And it was because COVID, there was no races going on.
Yep.
So at the point where I was like, I think I can do a marathon. And my first marathon, I ran at like 3:37. And I didn't know nothing about running. I just kind of just did my own thing. And I was like, wow, okay, this is like you can like do like life is inputs and outputs. So like, I don't know. That's when it really started to click. And then ever since I've just been obsessed with like getting better, not just in that, dude, I take it with everything. Those lessons I learned like that, I would not have bought and fixed up this house. I'm not like, I didn't grow up like a handsy like person. Like we did little projects. I always did landscaping, and I worked as a roofer for a summer, a maintenance guy another summer. But doing replacing a hot water tank, ripping up, putting in new floors. Yeah, like dude, that stuff would have been like, I'm just not that guy. Like I knew deep down maybe I wanted to be, but it just learning inputs and outputs. And when like, dude, you screw up, like you failed, but you're not a failure. Like you're just learning. Yep. So like, yeah, I might have screwed up. Like, what's a good one? What did I screw up a lot? Like mitering like my trim like on all my doors, like cutting those 45, marrying them together real nice. I might have screwed up a couple of pieces, wasted a few bucks. Yeah. But nice with it now. Like that's how installing doors. Do you ever install doors?
Oh God, yes, the pain. It's a
first one hours. Second one, dude, it's like a pro. Yep. Then the third one I actually kind of screwed up a little bit. But then I'm like, okay, well, like, no, I know I did screw that up. And then, dude, like, I don't know. So that's my spiel.
No, inputs and outputs is like whatever you put into life, you'll get back. Like it's just like you might not see it right away, like you said, but you'll see it eventually. And like with the running thing, because I think my biggest issue is like going too fast to start out. Like, how do you pace yourself with that? Like, you just ran a 15-hour ultra marathon. Like, how the F do you pace yourself for 15 hours?
So I just ran a 70-mile ultra marathon. I finished in 18th place. There was 100 and almost 200 runners at the start. I think like 50 some DNF'd. Yeah. That means they just didn't get to the finish line. But yeah, I got 18th. And again, I still feel like a rookie in the sport. And I'm pretty young relative to like the crowd. It's actually a lot of like guys in their 30s or even 40s that are crushing with endurance because it's just time, dude. They just got a lot of inputs. But yeah, I would say that just comes with time, dude. Just learning your body and building a good base. And it's like the other thing too is like not being afraid to fail or look stupid. Like if you're coming out fast, you might be worried that like, oh, I don't want to jog at an 11-minute pace. Like that's too slow. Like, or 10 minutes. That's too slow. Like I'm coming out and doing this. Right. Mm-hmm. Then you're gassed out after a half mile running at like 8 minutes or whatever you're doing. Well, like, dude, looking stupid and failing is the price of admission. Like, do you know how many runs I had that like I was sucking wind, like just trying to do my half-mile run to the gym when I started? Yeah. Like, that's not like that's normal. Yeah. Like that's okay. So like, it's just gonna come with time. So pace yourself. Don't be afraid if you feel like you look slow and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally a requirement.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Because
like that's yeah.
my sister, so she's gotten big into running now. She runs like 30 or 16 miles in a day, like, and it's like I can't even fathom like doing that. Like that's just to me, it's like I run a mile and I'm good. Like where you were, where it's like you ran that 3 mile route and you're like you kicked your butt every time. Like I run a mile, it's like, yeah, I feel accomplished there. Like eventually, I'd like to get to like being able to run like and not get out of breath, and like work out with 4 pound weights and not get out of breath right now. But like it's just a progress thing. And where did you see the most improvement with working out and running to Western hunting or just hunting in general? Like what improvements did you see?
Yeah, definitely just my VO2 max, which is
Yeah.
just like measure of your endurance. It's a measure of how well oxygen gets to your muscles, which again is kind of just a measure of like how well your blood's pumping your blood through your body.
Yeah.
Or how well your heart's pumping your blood through your body. I really do feel like that's helped me out there a lot. And I yeah, I can we can always keep talking. There's definitely good ways to train.
Mm-hmm.
You have to run marathons to do that, to hunt like that. Like no,
Right.
but dude, it's the mental. Like me getting up at 4 in the morning and get to climb 2,000 feet to my glassing spot in the dark before sunrise. I know I can do that because I've done hard things. Like I've run 70 miles or I've run whatever.
Yeah.
Like believing that like putting one foot in front of the other and like it's gonna suck, but I've done, I'm confident I can do that because I have evidence that I can do some hard things. Like I
Right.
think that's what's huge for people. Like the reason something like that might intimidate you is because you've never done it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's okay. Like that's fine.
Yep.
That's how it works. So like just trying to test, like, yeah, train hard, look for get outside, couple days a week up to your hunt with the heavy pack on, twice a week, 50 pounds, get out, get on some hills. That's all good stuff. Build your aerobic base, build some leg strength. But and I used to think this was all bullshit, but after starting to do it, like I think it is real, man. Like it's a lot of the mental, like, and that's why that's part of the reason why I keep going back to these ultras and stuff, because I'm just so pumped to just keep finding my limit and just keep pushing it. I don't know. And then if I know I can do that, like run that race and like deal with that pain because it hurt.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I
sure.
can imagine.
I can like, dude, I'll see at the top of that mountain. Like I translate that to hunting, or I'll sit in that tree all day.
Yeah.
Like I ran for 15 hours straight.
Yeah.
I have no problem sitting in a tree for 15. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's gonna give me confidence to be like, oh, I got another all day sit. Well, I ran for 15 hours. I'm sure I can sit for 15 hours. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's just how you frame things in your mind. And that's not to sound, I don't want to sound arrogant, but I'm just like, my underlying message is like, start to do some hard things. That's only going to help you on these hard hunts.
Yeah.
Like, is how it works. And like, I'm nowhere where I want to be yet at all. Like, I'm still growing and like learning and trying to push myself in other aspects. But that's something that's helped me, man.
So with that ultra marathon, walk us through what was going through your head. Like for 15 hours, like
If anything.
if anything, like what music, what was your go-to song? Cause I know when I work out, like when I get hooked on a song, like that's what I like lift to every time. Like it's like, for example, Luke Combs, Ain't No Love in Oklahoma. Like that song, when that song, like that song is like my that's my go-to song right now. Was there a go-to song that you, for that 15 hours, was there a go-to song for you?
Truthfully, no.
Really?
A lot of it too, I actually ran with no music. I had headphones in, but I wasn't playing with anything.
Wow.
I was able to like. I do get like you do get into a state where it's like you're either locked in on this runner's high and you're in this flow, and like you don't want to like screw it up. Like you
Yeah.
just want to live there.
Right.
And like there's other times where I just have some deep thoughts just like about life and things like that, and that'll also disassociate, maybe the pain I have going on in my legs or whatever.
Yeah.
And then sometimes what I'll do is I'll have like, but then that comes naturally,
Yep.
like that flow state. There are times too where it's like my legs are just killing me, and it's like I got like, dude, I had stomach problems at like mile 25, and the key to these races is like to keep fueling and getting
Yeah.
calories in, and I couldn't eat. It was hard because you're asking so much of your body running, all the blood, all the energy's going to like your legs. Your digestive system's just like, we're just gonna like check out if like we're not getting what we need. So it hurt really bad, and I was running on minimal calories, and I was at mile 25, and I'm like, I got these problems, and I got 45 more miles left. And I already know this is gonna suck.
Yeah.
But I was able to sip on calories, get some stuff in, and just grind through it. And then I think by mile 60 is when the pain of like the fatigue of not being fueled really settled in. But what I would do when like you get to those hard times, is you need to like disassociate your thought a little bit. So like, yeah, I'll put like music on or a podcast, but a trick I learned is like you just put yourself somewhere else mentally. So like what I did, and it's hard to even go all the way through it, but it works. Like I was going through my gear list for my Western hunt, and like visually putting the things in the bag, and I'd start with like clothes. I started with my feet, and I'm like, all right, boots. And I'm like, physically, I'm like, okay, I got my boots, put them in my truck. All right, I got my backup pair of boots. Oh yeah, I got those other Crispies and put them in my truck. And like, it's crazy. Like think of like a crazy list or something to kind of get your mind off what's going on.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of that. Then yeah, deep just flow state that's kind of hard to describe. A lot of those. Then you just think about life and just kind of like being present. And then there's other times where like this pain is just so hard. I don't know if I can do this, but there's a lot of that. A couple random hunting podcasts like I'll just throw on again and just take my mind off things, and yeah, that's it, man.
What was that? The emotion at the very end when you finished that, when you hit that 70-mile mark, what was that like?
It feels good. It's just something else that like never thought you could ever do. Something that you always like looked at and thought, oh, those people do that. Like, that's awesome. I wish I could do that. There must be some magic that they have that I don't. And you just start to realize that that's all not true. And just all those emotions. Then like the memories of like, I'll put it on my story, dude. Like there's days where I don't have a kids or whatever, but like I have shit going on too. And like when I know I need to run, I will get up at 3:30 in the morning and be out the door. I'll be out the door by 3:30 running. Because I know I got to get it done. So like you think about all those times, or when I'm running when it's 10 degrees in the snow or in a thunderstorm, because I know I just have to get my weekly mileage in. So all those memories kind of came back at the finish line, which was pretty cool. And there's just still, man, I just always had this, like, a lot of mindset books I'll read. They all kind of say the same thing about like, talk about a growth mindset. A lot of people that are successful kind of adopt it, where it's like you're always learning, always trying to get better, and things just aren't just the way they are. And I swear I'm drawn to this because I was so the other way. I had such a fixed mindset. I thought like, I got the body I got. I can't, I don't have the best genetics. I'm not a runner. I'm not a whatever. I'm not, dude. I used to think like I just was an unlucky hunter like for so long too, and just all this fixed mindset. And like I've just the last few years just been able to chase these dreams that I have, just adopting this kind of different way of thinking and continuing to learn and always get better. And then when you cross that finish line, it's like more proof that like this is real. Like this is how life works. So it makes me excited for what's to come, man. Because I'm just gonna keep going.
That's a perfect segue into the next part here. Congratulations on the ultra marathon.
Yes.
Congratulations on that. Like it was cool to see you finish that, and cool to see like you came 18th. Like that's pretty freaking awesome. Is that the behind you? Is that the trophy on the 70 right there?
That's it right there.
That's sick. What is that made out of?
Just wood.
Just wood?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool though. That's pretty cool. So this season, you said what's to come. So like what is coming this season, not only with hunting, but like do you have any more races planned, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so races, I'm a big like season guy throughout the year.
Yep.
Still gonna run. I still love running. I don't ever give up on something completely. Like I'm still gonna run and train hard like every day. That's what I love to do.
Yeah.
But I need to get more focused on getting ready for these trips. So a lot more nights in the tent, messing with gear, just backpacking, and spending more time at nights reading books about mule deer and e-scouting and all that good stuff. So this year I got a tag to go to Idaho, and I'm leaving the end of August. It's gonna be a high country mule deer tag, which again, dude, like years ago, I never I always dreamed of doing a hunt like this, but I was like, I don't know if I can't be that guy, like whatever. We just slowly build and like crew the skills and go on the little backpacking trips and spend nights in the tent. All right, you do your first hunt. And now it's like, I can't believe it. Like I got this high country mule deer tag in Idaho. I'm gonna do it solo.
Mm-hmm.
I mapped out PTO and everything. I got a couple days to scout. Then I can hunt for about 10 days in full if I need it.
Nice.
And I don't know. I have nights where I can't sleep. I'm thinking about it so much.
I'm sure.
I can't wait. So that's first. And then my dad and I, just gonna be my dad and I think, we put in to draw elk tags in Colorado for their first rifle season, and we didn't draw.
Yeah.
So we're gonna hunt over the counter, second rifle season, and that's that end of October time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 Western hunting plans. All my PTO basically is gonna go to sleeping in a tent in the mountains out west, and that's how I like it. So that's on the docket for 2024. I'm pumped, and then I'll be chasing whitetails back here when I can too.
Nice. Ethan, I know you have a question about Colorado.
Yeah, I just saw that today.
Or at least a while, like couple days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that they're gonna either cut back or get rid of the over-the-counter tags for non-residents in Colorado. I don't know if you saw anything on that or.
Yeah. So every year, man, it's getting harder and harder. And I saw that article come out, and I saw that CPW was having these meetings. You could like watch the live videos, and I was trying to keep up with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. They did this after the draw.
Yeah.
But they are cutting non-resident archery over-the-counter tags, elk tags.
So just archery.
So that means, what's that?
Just archery, you said?
Just archery.
Okay.
Is all it said. The Outdoor Life article didn't have a whole much more detail on exactly what, but the sentence was basically that. So I'm just going to take that for what it is.
Right.
So that's no more just driving out there and hunting elk with your bow.
Mm-hmm.
And what sucks is like, over the years, I mean, you could do that in Idaho for a long time. You could do that in Montana, maybe if you waited like a year.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not that game anymore. Colorado was like the last, like, you can buy your tag drive out there, buy it at Walmart and go hunting. And you can do that for the rifle season still, for that second and third season, but apparently you can't do that with archery season anymore. And it's obviously, follow what's going on. It's not going to happen for rifle.
No.
Sure, I'm in the near future either. It's probably all going to go to a draw, which as long as you put into the draw, you'll probably get your tag. This is just early steps. But this way they can just start to management more. But then it's going to turn into the point creep for each one.
Yep.
And I don't know what the future is going to be in 5 years, 10 years. But it's for real. And I don't know what to tell guys. Like, I would gladly help anyone that wants to go hunt out west, but you got to get in the points game, man. You got to start building points if you ever want to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh, well, here it comes. This is no more over-the-counter elk anywhere in the U.S. And just kind of, I mean, coming from PA, it kind of, from my point of view, it makes sense because of what we have here in Pennsylvania. But it also, it's like, over-the-counter was so long for Colorado. Like, that's like, everyone want to go to Colorado, do over-the-counter stuff. It's just how it is. And I think, more and more of the content's being put out there, which people are seeing that and they want to hunt public and they want to go over the counter. They want to have that experience and, which it's great. Like we all want that experience. Like it's an exciting thing. Like we talked about in the first part of this, like it's an exciting thing.
Changed my life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's that draw to it because people want that experience. But like you said, if you play your cards right, sometimes the waiting game is better. Sometimes you can put in points. Sometimes you can just go out there and scout then. And you be more prepared for when you do get drawn. It's like, okay, now I know where they are. Now you're going to have that more of a gratification because you're putting this work in and then you get the bull or the cow even down. Like it's just, it's that gratification that not instant, but it's prolonged gratification.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have a desire to go out west.
Because that's what it's going to turn into. Like
Yeah.
if you ever want to go, you have to have a couple of points, and I think that's great. I would love to see people to start doing that. I mean, like, I don't have my tag yet. Maybe I'll get it next year. But this year, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to drive around the unit. I'm going to test all my gear. I'm going to just spend. I can't stress enough, like, just getting a week of like effective hunting time is like a skill in itself. Like always having all your, like, does your water filtration work right? Does all your is your stove working right? Is your tent holding up? And do you have the right clothes? Are you like, there's so much to it. If you like just getting the point, because what you don't want to do is wait 4 or 5 years to draw the tag. You go out there for 10 days. First 3 days, you don't even know where the hell to go. You're just driving around. You're running into other people. Next 2 days, all right, you got your tent set up and you're hiking around, but you don't see any animals. There's no elk here, blah, 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 blah. And like you move to another spot, but then your water filters don't work. And like you literally, like, it's something like that. Like you're going to get the most like naked, I call it like naked feeling. Like you're just like, oh, like I can't drink any water. Like, you don't get it. Like you have to have that stuff dialed in. And like next thing you know, most of your week's done.
Yep.
How much time did you really spend hunting? And those mornings and evenings are tough if you're not ready for the morning or the evening and like it's cold and like that's where you're gonna see the animals. So if you're not dialed in and like up on top of that glassing knob by first light, you're not having an effective hunt. And so you kind of just you waste your time.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. I mean, I haven't hunted out west, but I feel like that'd be the best way to go is like do what you did last year where it was like you went out in August, you did your scouting, and then you were able to go back out there in October and you and your dad were both able to fill a tag. Like that's
it was the greatest memory. Like we got pictures packing out our bucks. We packed them down to camp and then it was cold enough to just hang them. And at the end of the week, we like packed it all out. And it was a great memory, but there's work to that. Not just during the hunt, like, but before, just to maximize that time. And you don't have to go out there and like do that kind of way to test your gear and scout. I mean, it'd be great if you go out and scout your area, but dude, backpack around here. There's state forests. I go everywhere. I've gone all the way up to the Adirondacks. It's beautiful up there, Shenandoah, but just Allegheny National Forest or wherever. I mean, don't forget, like, it is fun.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
If you love backpacking, you're loving all the gear and like everything, like what I do. Yeah, it's going to make that easier. So kind of fall in love with the process, man, and then you're gonna go a lot further.
Absolutely. What would be your entrance song to if you were in WWE or if you were walking up to a pickleball match? What would be your entrance song?
Oh, dude. I'm so torn because I have days at the gym.
Yeah.
What I listen to in the gym is not necessarily what I listen to when I run. When I run, it's usually like upbeat, some fast tempo, just because moving quick. But at the gym, when I'm like wanting to get after it, sometimes it's like some Eminem or like some hardcore like Slipknot or like
Yeah.
some classic rock or like, gosh, dude, I'll even put the audio on like the end fight scene in the Rocky movies.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that might sound weird, but I'm telling like that just gets me so fired up.
Yeah.
So it might even be that theme song.
The Rocky theme song.
Like, I think I like Cinderella Man by
Oh, okay.
Eminem. Dude.
All right.
That just gets me fired up. That makes me feel like the underdog, and it's like, no, like I'm here. Like let's go.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
like that. I like that because I was going to ask, like, are we talking like original Eminem? Or are we talking like now Eminem? Because I feel like the old school Eminem was more like hardcore, and now it's just like he's just remaking his stuff that he used to put out.
It was fun to hear that, but it's
Yeah.
like it's not the same.
No, it's definitely not the same.
No.
So before we end it, biggest tip on either working out or Western hunting for the listener.
Okay, I'd say for both, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep showing up. Control what you can control and just try to get better every single day. And that can be in the most minute fashion. It could be today I'm going to spend, like, I don't know anything about proper nutrition. I don't know anything about exercise. I don't know anything about Western hunting. Today on my list, I got to watch a 10-minute YouTube video on how to eat clean.
Mm-hmm.
What does a whole food diet look like?
Yeah.
And just that's it. Don't stress yourself out. It might be this massive elephant. This is that expression I like to use. This massive elephant, and you're just taking little bites, dude.
Yeah.
That's all. And it's going to work. So today you're going to watch a 10-minute video on how to get an elk tag or how to eat right or how to strength train. Tomorrow, you're going to take one little nugget from that 10-minute video and you're going to start implementing that. The next day, you're going to maybe put together a plan for the next day. Like I'm gonna wake up, be specific. I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna have my workout clothes right there on my bed. I'm not even gonna think about it. I'm just gonna put them on, go do my workout. Or I'm gonna look on, Kafaru for a backpack. Like I don't even know what I need, but I'm gonna start looking because I want to just start training or something like that. Or I'm gonna watch. Or I'm gonna, the guy said he read a book that helped him a lot. I'm gonna buy that book and I'm gonna read 10 pages a day. I'm not gonna try to read the whole thing. I'm gonna spend 20 minutes. I'm gonna read 10 pages a day. All them books behind me.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I do, dude.
Yep.
10 pages a day, and if I feel like it, I'm gonna read more. But like, just everything, man. Just keep showing up. Write that contract. Sign it. Be like, I'm just gonna keep showing up every day.
Love that.
So
Love that.
That's it. Inputs and outputs, man. That's all it is.
Love that. Where can people follow you, reach out to you if they want advice, all that kind of good stuff?
Yeah, so pretty much a little bit on Facebook, Weston Homa, but pretty much mostly on Instagram at Weston Homa. I love connecting with guys, talking to guys about hunting, learning from others. If I can help somebody else too with their fitness or trying to get a tag out west, I'm more than happy to do it. So pretty consistent on there with like my training, and I want to start sharing more. I shared a lot recently about my races, but start sharing more about like how I get ready for out west and the gear I use and some things like that. So people can check that out too if they want to.
Dude, absolute pleasure having you on again, Weston. Like it was awesome. My arms feel pretty tight right now.
My shoulders are feeling
good after 4 pounds weight.
You guys, that was a pretty good workout.
Yeah,
Thank you. It was a little distracting, I know.
It's been a while.
But it was like
years.
it felt appropriate. But
Yeah,
really
that's all right.
appreciate.
Hey, that's a first little bite of that elephant, man. That's all.
That's right. Take that bite of the elephant. Buy an elephant. Go eat it. Get 1% better every day.
Every day.
All right. Thank you, Weston. And that's it. See you guys.